Life would be a lot easier if patients always agreed with you, never questioned you, and just did what you say when you say it. But we all know better. They don't always do that. Sometimes they object to recommendations that you have. Sometimes they ask questions that sound like objections. But regardless, they're a fact of life. And the better you can overcome patient objections, the more successful your practice is going to be. My guest today helps his clients do just that, among other things, and he's going to tell us what he thinks. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. It's usually what they want, but care is better. Everything's better when it's the providers of care who own the practice, because then every decision that gets made, clinical, business, whatever, is made by those who are also taking care of patients. So we can feel very confident and rest assured that patient care stays top of mind no matter what is going on. My guest today is Jake Goetz. Since 2003, Jake has given group seminars and training on sales and marketing. This is his heritage. He's a key opinion leader for various dental marketing companies. Since 2013, Jake has personally consulted more than 5,600 dentists nationwide on their marketing strategies and sales skills to reduce unnecessary spend while increasing collections. Jake founded GOAT Dental Marketing, GOAT Consultants in early 2023, providing marketing strategy and sales coaching for dental offices across the country. Jake, with his wife and two daughters, enjoy living and playing in the mountains of northern Utah when he's not doing cool stuff with dentists. A returning guest, Jake, thanks for coming back.
Thank you. It's always fun to be here.
Yep, we get to riff on marketing stuff and sales
That's
stuff.
right.
What better way to spend the time, right? I'm sure any listener could come up with a long list, but hey, let us have our thing. So we're going to talk today about overcoming patient objections, the fact of life that they are, the annoying fact of life that they are. But first, tell us more about you for those who haven't heard an episode or don't know you yet.
Yeah, I got into sales and marketing and consulting. I've kind of done it my whole career. I grew up in a really big family with a lot of personalities, and I just naturally, I guess it's the happy accident. I don't know, but you learn how to communicate with different personalities and overcome
Saw
conflict.
your
And
brother on giving your dinner, that kind of
yeah,
thing. Daily practice.
So, we used to joke all the time. I've got six brothers, and so we used to joke, that nobody could eat faster than the goats because if you wanted seconds, you had to eat fast. Get back to the bowls and whatever the table was in the buffet line.
Yeah.
But it taught us a lot about just kind of overcoming conflict and handling concerns together. And we learned very quickly as we got out of that element of being raised in our home that we actually weren't very good communicators.
Mm.
Most of us, as we married off and started our families and started our careers, we were like, wow, like our parents were very educated and very involved in our lives, but when it came to conflict resolution, it was a lot of the fight or flight, and we had a
Mm.
lot of fights. Not
Wow.
my parents per se,
Hmm.
but as siblings, we fought a lot. And now you look at who we've become, and I've got a brother who's an attorney and one of the
Mm.
most credible debaters you'll ever meet. I've got a sister who's a family therapist who is one of the most methodical and best people that you'll ever meet.
Hmm.
And I've got a brother who's a surgeon, and his chairside manner is phenomenal.
Mm.
So, but you kind of go through the chapters of life, and but that's a little bit of really kind of at the core of who I am
Hmm.
is I just learned I loved relationship building because I always had a very strong relationship with all of my family.
Hmm.
And so I gravitated very quickly into sales. And growing up in a family with so many mouths to feed, we never had a lot of disposable income. And so, uh, money was a motivator for me early on in my career because I realized the harder I worked in sales, the more money I could make.
Mm.
And so that's really, I ended up getting a college degree in professional sales. And then
Mm.
I got into marketing and running call centers and managing salespeople over the phone and then
Hmm.
managing salespeople in person. And then I realized marketing is half the battle of sales. And if you can market to get the right people in front of you,
Yeah.
then sales can get a lot easier. So Yeah, when I decided to go out and start my own business, that was after years and years of people telling me, "Why don't you run your own thing?"
Mm,
And I was my own worst enemy of doubt and self-doubt.
hmm
I thought I don't know anything. And the last few years since I went out on my own and have started growing a team around what I've experienced and the philosophies that I've been able to steal from other people,
hmm
and adopt has really kind of shaped what we stand for and what we try to accomplish. So, yeah, for kind of a roundabout, interesting way, it's always just been at my core. Marketing, how we position things, how we analyze data, and the verbals and nonverbal communication that
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah.
And so I love it. It's why I get up in the morning.
There you
It's a
go.
fun thing to
Yes.
do.
Similar. It is. It's a, yeah, I think of it as it's like the intellectual challenge of winning when you have competitors. And objections are a daily fact of life, both in marketing and sales. I remember when I was in sales, yes, you face them. When I was in marketing, I was trying to think of every objection that our sales forces might hear and give them, responses. But the first thing is, and this is a bit, I don't know, it's kind of counterintuitive. Objections are opportunities. Salespeople will tell you this. The rest of the world goes, that can't be true, but it is true. Why are objections really opportunities when you're trying to convince somebody to do something, a selling situation?
I love that question because early on, my first real sales job was door to door.
And
And
the context, sorry, is you want patients to accept a treatment that you're offering. No matter you want them to come in for treatment, come back for treatment. You're trying to convince them that this procedure is worthwhile, whatever it is. I mean, listeners, it's forget about sales. Like when you think about a salesperson, this is you're trying to convince a patient to do something you think is necessary, and
yes,
they don't think so. Thus objections. But so I wanted to
in
give that,
that
yeah.
in that context, really objections are an invitation for and a plead for more information.
Mhm.
And you can't go too far down that road uh, without, I mean, you learn very quickly if you go past the objection,
Mhm.
they tune out. And so it's finding a balance of, I have this concern, and a lot of times they're going to throw up what I call screens.
Mhm.
They're going to throw up a smoke screen because they don't want to tell you. They don't maybe have full trust or rapport with you to tell you the real reason.
Mhm.
And so what's the easiest objection to tell somebody that you've invited to pay for a treatment? Money.
Money. That's the first one.
I,
Yep.
I just don't think I'll be able to afford that. I don't know. Will my insurance cover that? Those are the questions. And so I've always tried to, when I did door to door, it was like, oh shoot, they're really pushing back hard. And it wasn't the beautiful thing about door to door sales that it teaches you very early on is you get a lot of at bats,
Mhm.
like you get a lot of opportunities and it's in your very first day to realize, oh, they don't hate me. They hate the idea of a door to door salesman.
Yep.
They don't hate me. They hate the product I'm offering because of maybe a past experience.
Mhm.
And so it it very quickly became learning how to ask really good thought-provoking questions
Mhm.
that helped the prospect, the patient, understand that I'm genuinely just trying to understand their situation and see if what I'm providing them
Mhm.
resonates.
Yep.
And it's a fun psychological chess match to play for me. I
Mhm.
Not everybody loves it.
Mhm.
Some just and I have clients that they don't love that, and so they hire people who are very, very good at that and can show the sympathy and that empathy with the people of, wow, I can
Yeah.
appreciate how you feel.
Yeah.
So I love the question because objections are an opportunity for you to reframe the information.
Yeah.
It's not always giving them more information. Oftentimes a novice, you know, closer, if you will, for lack of a better term, for the sake of sales conversation, if you're closing business and
Yep.
collecting money and getting someone to commit and move forward with treatment, you are a closer, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you're slamming the door hard and closing hard. Closing is helping somebody to feel comfortable to say
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's just reframing it. Sometimes I will get an objection, or I'll see a doctor get an objection from somebody. And I was actually, I got to tell this story real quick. I was shadowing a doctor just last week in Florida,
Hmm.
and he said, "Hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but how long ago did you get that crown put in?"
Hmm.
And they said, "Oh, it was about 8 years ago." And he goes, "Have you noticed how much it's worn down?" And the patient said, "No." And he goes, "Yeah, most people don't realize it, but that crown is worn down to the point that it's going to need to be replaced in the next couple of months. Like I'm shocked it hasn't broken already."
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, I didn't want to hear that. What do you mean it's worn down? Did they just use cheap material?"
Hmm.
And he said, "Well, what did the doctor tell you when he put that or she put that crown in?" And they said,
Hmm.
"Oh, this crown's gonna, take care of this problem." And he said, "So did you believe that it was gonna last forever?" And she's like, "Yeah, I had hoped so."
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
he goes, "That's probably where why you're a little bit surprised to hear me bring this up then."
Yeah.
He handled it beautifully. He didn't just say, yeah, crowns wear out. He asked questions to make that patient in the chair in that moment have a realization that, oh, there were questions I should have asked 8 years ago.
Or things I should have been told because I've never had it happen before.
Yeah, or
But
maybe I
yeah.
should have been educated on. And so he
Yeah.
took the opportunity to educate before dropping the bomb that, well, crowns wear out. That's the
That's
nature of,
funny. I have one. Now you got me thinking. I never
yeah,
thought about it as because also I grind my teeth. It makes sense. Like I can grind this thing too. So why would that be so different?
yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
thank you
and
for that. Unrelated, but I've always thought of objections as opportunities because one, if somebody objects, at least a part of them is interested enough in what you're saying to muster up the energy to disagree. If they
yes.
truly didn't care, they'd be like, yeah, whatever, in their own way. The other thing that you hear more sales coaches say is, you just found out something specific, that they don't. So if you can overcome it, maybe you can keep it going. Uh,
Yeah. You know,
sometimes, it's the arguing that really gets you somewhere,
Well, and yeah, it's perfect lead into what I was going to say. The arguing is what gets you somewhere. The debate is what gets you somewhere. The
Hmm.
objection does, because one of the very first things I learned when I was studying like the true psychology of sales and over, I mean, we took an entire course
Hmm.
for 3 months, 12-week course that was dedicated to just objection handling. It was
Hmm.
objection handling 101.
Hmm.
And one of the things that they said is you should race to the no. Like
Hmm.
you want to get to the no as fast as possible,
Yes.
because without getting to the no, you're never going to get to a yes.
Hmm. And you're going
It's
to keep stringing along. So there's a time issue, but it's like, yes, let's just get there.
yeah.
Everybody's better off. If it's truly a no, I want to know now.
Well, and I want to flip some sales psychology on its head for a second,
Okay,
because there's a psychology of overcoming objections that I don't want to say perfected, because there's every day you're getting better at this,
sure.
right? But they always talk about assume the yes.
Mm,
I believe I should assume the no.
I'm the same way.
And and as I've done that, it's not that I'm pessimistic, and it's not that I don't have the belief in my product or service to be able to help someone,
Hmm.
regardless of what that is. I've sold a lot of things in my career, and I've
Yeah.
I've made a lot of different people a lot of money in the way
Hmm.
that I've provided their service and their product. But I've more so importantly provided a lot of people some incredible value in their life
Hmm.
because I believe in my product or service. So why would I not assume that I outbelieve the person in front of me?
Hmm.
Because they say, oh, you just got to work on your belief. You got to get that treatment coordinator to believe that what I'm recommending as the doctor is the best answer because of my experience and
Yeah.
and credentials
Hmm.
as the doc.
Hmm.
So you train your team to have a belief in what you are providing as a service, that because if you outbelieve somebody, then you'll get more yeses. But that also means if you have the higher level of belief, then you should also assume nobody else out here believes what I believe, and therefore this is going to take a little bit of work for me to get them to say yes.
Yeah. And that gives you, at least for me, I'm the same way. The other part of it is I want to find people. For me, when I was in sales, the first round of questioning was, is what I have a good fit or not, as far as I can tell? Because not everything fits everybody,
Yeah.
right? So is what I'm offering that I really believe is a good, is a good product for those who it fits, a good fit or not? And if it's a good fit, then you're like, all right, I'm a good choice for you. I'm saying in my mind. I don't exactly know if you're going to pick me, but I know I'm a good choice for you. And for me, that gave me energy to deal with objections, which can be energy draining.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think, you could say, didn't we just go through this? I thought I just, and it can be energy draining. So there's the emotional, but if you feel you are a good fit, what you offer is a good fit and you believe in that, that's just going to help. So the types of objections, that you hear about, there's the clinical, like there's the clinical side, I guess, and the business side. And I wonder about, because then there's who deals with it. How do you deal with it? How do you, when you're working with a client, how do you sort of help them break down? So now you got to deal with objections. Here's a way to do it, but there's different ways to deal with different types.
Yes. So there's what I consider chairside objections
Mm.
and consultant, like the consult room objection.
Hmm.
And there's a time to make that transition.
Hmm.
And if you don't have a consult room because you're limited on square space, how are you changing the setting
Mm.
chair?
Hmm.
Are you addressing it in a dental office, for example? I watched a doctor a few months ago, um, you know, kind of pull the instruments out, set them down, and pull his mask down and say, "So, there's a few things that I've noticed. Have you noticed there on that back?
Jake, you froze on me.
Am I back?
You're back.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's
That's
going on."
that's all right. Keep pickup.
Uh,
We'll edit that out.
okay.
Yeah.
So I was watching this doctor start handling, a diagnosis and a dialogue of the diagnosis immediately while that patient was still completely leaned back in their chair. He
Hmm.
had finished the exam, and rather than, sitting them up to start the conversation of his findings,
Hmm.
he starts asking these questions. And the patient, I mean, you're in a vulnerable spot laying flat on your back in a dental.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're not necessarily, and he's a type that, he's only got about 1,800 square feet and he barely has his own office crammed in a closet. And
Hmm.
there's no way for him to really have a consult room. And so after I observed the way that he had this dialogue, it was a solid, 5 to 7 minutes that he was talking to this patient. She starts expressing concerns while laying flat, and I could tell she was uncomfortable. So I finally leaned forward and I said, "Would you like to sit up?" And I normally am just a fly on the wall.
Hmm.
But this was a very young doc, had just bought into the practice and was just getting started, and the senior doc had asked me to come in and mentor.
Hmm.
And and so as I observed this, I leaned forward and I said, "Oh, doc, go ahead and prop her up." Um, and then I just kind of took over the conversation based on everything that I had heard, which I never could have done that if he wouldn't have had that dialogue.
Hmm.
But all I did was change the environment just enough with her to sit up
Hmm.
where you could see her like settle and
Yeah.
she could calm down.
Hmm.
And so, he had started to go into yeah, we'll have Mary or, whoever at the front desk help you address what your insurance is going to cover.
Hmm.
But she had a lot of different questions about just a simple cavity. And is this going to lead to something else? And why not just pull it out? I don't think I'm going to want to spend the money. What's
Hmm.
an extraction cost? And I feel like part of those conversations were definitely clinical that should have been handled right there in the chair like he
Hmm.
did.
Hmm.
But It was how he was positioning physically,
Hmm.
positioning that patient to have the dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think that's a rookie mistake, so I don't
Hmm.
want to spend too much time on it. But even I love it when I see a doctor take their gloves off, take their mask off
Yeah.
completely, drop their loops around their neck, or take them off and hand them to their assistant, because
Hmm.
now I'm I'm making you more comfortable and getting all of the clinical out of the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
because that's a nonverbal to prepare for a transition to
Hmm.
go discuss the rest of the details of the finances with the
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
So, uh, you know, I would say one of the things that is just a really good best practice that I do with my clients often is I'll say, okay, write down all of your most commonly mentioned objections from
Yeah.
patients.
Yeah.
And if they do a lot of procedures, then I will say, write down the top three concerns for each procedure.
Yeah.
And then I want you to go through that and identify, is this something the doctor needs to overcome, or is this something that somebody on the team can overcome?
Okay.
And by doing that, you start to realize, oh, wow, 70% of the most common objections and concerns can be addressed in the consult room with my
Okay.
team.
Okay.
30% need to be addressed without question here in the chair
So
or
is that how, like I said, the types of objections, clinical office, whatever, is you're saying is a better way to say who's best to deal with it? Is a better way to kind of classify them?
yeah, and it'll also help you understand when you do that assessment of just drafting all of your most common objections. One
Hmm.
thing that I do is I'll actually create a Google spreadsheet,
Hmm.
and I will create a tab for each
Sure.
procedure
Hmm.
and every single procedure, and then I'll just give them a quick template in the top of the each page
Hmm.
of that tab of each tab. Okay, this is the common objection, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is this one to overcome? 10
Mm.
being the hardest and one being the easiest.
Hmm.
And then I'll share that entire workbook to every email address within the practice.
Okay.
And I'll say, before our next meeting, I need every single member of your team to go through every tab and add whatever is still missing. So
Mm.
it's a team building.
Hmm.
Oh, but I get this objection a lot at the front desk. I get this objection in the consult room. I get this objection as an assistant. And it goes through and it gives every single person's perspective of what are the most common objections.
Yeah.
And then on the next call, I go tab by tab and I'll break it down. And
Hmm.
I'll say, okay, is there anything on here that you guys disagree with?
Hmm.
And I'll just boom, boom, boom. We'll
Yep.
reprioritize them. I'll filter everyone and I'll put the most common objections and the biggest, most challenging objections at the top of each
There you
page.
go.
And then I'll say, now who needs to be the one answering these?
There you go. So maybe that's a better way to classify it is it's within the procedure, but it's who can, okay, good. This is a big question, but let's see if we can break it down and keep it simple. How do you respond to objections?
Holy cow.
Hmm.
First and foremost, you need to reframe and restate. So when somebody gives an objection, don't just blurt out that you assume that you know what they are objecting to,
Yeah.
that you assume you understood the objection.
Yep.
Always, always question your own ability to understand.
A good answer to the wrong question, death.
Death.
Make sure you understand what they're saying or asking or wherever. Yes.
Yeah. So reframe and restate the question every time, first and foremost.
Hmm.
Say, oh, I appreciate the question. So what you're asking is
Wow.
this.
Yeah.
Restate it in the way that you genuinely understand it.
Yep.
Don't state it in a way that's going to create another objection.
I've done that sometimes. Like, let me restate back what I heard. Tell me if I'm right. If
Yes.
not, tell me where I'm wrong. I want to make sure that I'm responding to what you're saying.
You're almost, when you
Which,
look
by
at
the way,
this,
breaks down a couple of barriers. I mean,
it
it's you
does.
should do it, but already like, I'm really trying to understand you.
And they see that you're actively listening.
Yep.
And so that's a really big one. Some of the most common objections you'll get on like Google reviews, your
Hmm.
negative Google reviews, they're going to be in relation to they didn't listen. Like
Hmm.
I read one literally this morning going through for one of my clients, and it said they sent me all my new patient paperwork. I filled it all out. I got to the front desk. They asked me to fill it all out again on the clipboard. I had already submitted everything.
Yeah.
I got back into the exam room. Doctor came in, asked me all the exact same questions. And they got on and responded, well, we're very thorough. And they put this long defensive
Jeez.
response on the Google review because this patient
Even if
had,
there was a 3% chance the patient wasn't going to leave, well, now they are.
now
You
they're
hit
gone.
100%, they're gone.
So always,
Arguing
always,
via review, a
always,
recipe for
always,
success.
yeah, just reframe and restate. Once they confirm, now you have a clean slate with clarity,
Yeah.
and if they say, no, that's not what I mean this. Oh, thank you for clarifying. So you
Yeah.
mean this, and repeat it again.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times that I've misunderstood somebody and I've learned by that exercise, reframe, restate,
Yeah.
that, two or three times I finally get it, especially when I was doing technical, like big time tech sales in software, and people were explaining their like their concern and their challenge as a business. If I didn't understand that and I went through the whole procurement process and delivering a custom solution that we were going to build for them,
Yeah.
like that's tens of thousands of dollars, if not millions at times for certain
Hmm.
clients,
Hmm.
that you could be putting a solution in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So the key is listening, and listeners, you can tell when somebody is really listening versus when they're waiting to talk. So can your patients. They just can. And so you just gotta just shut down, if you're really listening and not, the body, because the body language gives it away. Like you can tell, like you're just waiting to respond, which means you're not listening. Even if you think you are, that's what's being communicated. So you just got to shut down the talking and really listen. Like that's a big part of it. You could have the best answer, you could have the perfect response, but they're shut down because they don't think you're listening. They think you're just waiting to answer.
Yeah. No, my primary care physician, he's very good at listening. I
Hmm.
mean, very, very good at active listening. He's very good, and even his non-verbals are so good where, he'll be on his stool and he'll cross his leg while we're first talking. But the second that I start asking questions or expressing concerns or anything, he'll uncross his legs and he'll lean forward slightly
Mm.
and he'll tilt his head like to the side and he'll
Hmm.
nod with me, and then he'll say, okay. And it's almost like a hem and a haw, but it's an active engagement of leaning in to gather the information. And then he'll lean back and he'll say, well, I think there's a couple of things that we could consider. And then my favorite thing that he does, and it's masterful because it took me years to learn,
Hmm.
and that is when once you lean back and you ask permission to share a solution. You ask them permission if they would like to hear a couple of ideas or thoughts. It is amazing when you
So what does that
use.
sound like? Give me an example of what
Yes,
that
so here's a
with
perfect
you.
example.
Yeah.
So you tell me, hey Jake, I really love, what you've put together with, something we do at Goat CMO is we do these personas. We
Hmm.
analyze their customer and their patient data.
Hmm.
And then we build them these avatars, these personas of how we market to them.
Hmm.
So let's say that you come to me as an agency and you ask me, to run one. I run one for you, and then you say, so I'm a little confused how you can literally take this data and make it a very easy way for me to go to market with it. Like, how would you use this?
Hmm.
I love getting that question. That's one of our most common questions. So how do I use all this data that you
Hmm.
just analyzed for me? And I'll ask them, I'll say, well, let me ask you something. How open-minded are you? And I'll turn the conversation back to them because I need them to know, like I need to know, are they open-minded to hear some ideas,
Hmm.
genuine, or are they just trying to give me an objection that this is a little over my head and I don't really want to go down this road any further?
Hmm.
That's a way that I keep from losing potential prospects for my
How,
own
how
business.
have you seen this like with your clients?
So with my clients, they'll come to me and they'll say,
Like with them with a patient, I mean.
"Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
So clients with patients, they'll specifically express concern. The most let's go after the most common objection, money, right?
Hmm.
Well, so if I understand correctly, you would do this today if Uncle Sam picked up the bill. If there,
Hmm.
somebody swept in and took care of it, aside from the money, there's no reason you wouldn't do this procedure. Is that right? Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, would it be all right if I asked you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
Yeah, of course. So besides the money, really, I've learned a few things in my life that I can afford just about anything if I want or need it bad enough.
Hmm.
I find a way.
Hmm.
Are you open to entertaining outside financing options or payment plans or other creative financing in order to get this done?
Mm.
Well, no, I have bad credit. I'm not asking if you have good credit or bad credit. I'm asking if you're open to considering and going down the journey with me to find a way.
Mm.
Well, yeah. Like, do you believe that you need this?
Hmm.
Do you believe that what I've just shared with you is going to benefit your life and your health in the long run?
Hmm.
Well, yeah, because we can all have money problems, but we can all have, teenage problems. We can all have, car problems. We can all have a lot of problems in our lives, but the second that we have a health problem,
Hmm.
we really only have one problem in our life.
Mm.
Because if you don't have your health, what do you have?
Hmm.
Well, yeah, I
Fair
see it.
enough. Yeah.
So now it's like, so that's why I ask, are you willing? But before I can go into that conversation, I got to know that they're willing and giving me permission to have that conversation instead of just squirming in the chair wanting to get out.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say use that permission. I call it the permission play. It's like a play in your playbook. Coaches
Hmm.
have playbooks. You're a
Hmm.
coach right now. You're coaching a patient through this process of self-fulfillment and health.
Yeah.
So ask them, are you open to entertaining some creative financing ideas or some creative ideas that might help you
Right.
find a way to get this done?
Okay. Very good. When do you not respond to objections?
Um, that comes with experience.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, I don't like to just completely ignore people.
Hmm.
I used to get reprimanded a lot from my sales managers when I was young in my career that I would go way too long on a sales call.
Hmm.
It's like, man, Jake, you were just on the phone with them for an hour. It should have been a 15-minute phone call. Well, I still closed the deal,
Yeah.
but I notoriously used to have longer sales calls because I genuinely was trying to get them to tell me if that was the real objection or not.
Hmm.
So when you know it's a smokescreen, one of the things that I just wear my heart on my sleeve and I'll kind of look at them or I'll pause if I'm on the phone and don't have the visual benefit of
Yeah.
nonverbals. And I'll say, I apologize for the pause. Is that really what you're most concerned about?
Mm.
Just a redirect with another question
Hmm.
that gets them off the track of whatever you believe was a smokescreen. And if it
Hmm.
really is at that point, if you ask them that question, well, sorry, I hesitate a little bit. I don't get that. I don't get that concern very often.
Hmm.
So let me just ask you, is that your number one concern? Like of
Hmm.
everything that's on your mind from what we talked about, what's the most important thing for you to get answered? Well, no, that's what it is. Okay, I didn't some I've had some people tell me that, but it's such a rare concern. I just
Hmm.
want to make sure that there's nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes that will very quickly uncover, is this a concern that needs to be answered or not?
Mm. Because sometimes it's just way out there. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
just gonna have to agree to part ways.
Yeah, like I have a client that they had a patient was so enthralled by like they needed a whole mouth reconstruction. And
Hmm.
they knew because they had had consultants in Seattle where their hometown was, I'm gonna need at least, 30 to $50,000 worth of dental work done.
Hmm.
and I know my insurance isn't going to pay for it. I need a second opinion. Well, this patient responded to an ad of my client in Miami, and they got on the phone, started building rapport with the team. We learned that the number one objection truly, genuinely was like, I know I need this, it's just the money.
Hmm.
And so they said, well, tell you what if we cover your flight to come down here? Like, what made you respond to our ad? And she
Yeah.
handled it beautifully, the treatment coordinator. And he's, well, what response? I've just been kicking the tires of different places. And so do you have more of a concern of the total price? Or was there something about that doctor that maybe didn't sit right with you? And we had thought to this point it was just money because the ad that our doctor ran was a $5,000 off treatment for this
Mm-hmm.
exact treatment. And he goes, well, I mean, that got my attention, but the reality is I got online, I started watching the videos. Your doctor's been interviewed by hundreds of people. You've got a ton of content. My doctor doesn't have any of that
Mm-hmm.
credibility. And I said, yeah, and then the treatment coordinator leaned in hard on that and said, yeah, our doctor's been doing this for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to take advantage of this before he retires. So I tell you what, we'll give you $5,000 off and we'll pay for your flight down here and a hotel for 2 days so that you can get post-treatment care. Would that be worth it to you if we did that?
Yeah.
Great. How soon could you book a flight?
Seriously. Yeah.
And so, that's where a lot of times those objections that they come up, it's a bit of a smokescreen, and it just comes down to asking really good questions. And
Mm-hmm.
and that was a prime example of one who said, "Is it really just the price? Like,
Yeah.
there's
It's
a
so much
lot of
it's the listening and then how you ask it. Is that the most important thing? Is that if that because what's implied there is if we can take care of it, are you coming? Well, you say
right."
yes if we can take care of it. Well, then there's this other thing. And then okay. So you kind of, you sort of, knock them down one at a time or whatever. But that's how you get to it.
Well, and I've seen others where they'll play house a little bit. And if they're having the conversation with the treatment coordinator and objections keep coming up and you can tell they're more excuses than
Yeah,
objections.
yeah.
Um, then they'll say, well, I do have some really creative ideas. I've been doing this a long time and I've
Hmm.
helped a lot of patients get taken care of with this particular situation.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that what you're telling me is, you know, I'm not discrediting what you're telling me and I'm not devaluing it. I do
Hmm.
see that it's very important to you. I have a couple of ideas, but I don't want to go and burn a whole bunch of human capital and, frankly, my relationship with my doctor to go and ask for this unless
Hmm.
I know you're on board. So you mentioned that, and again, now you're isolating the objection.
Hmm. Hmm.
You mentioned that this is the only thing holding you back.
Hmm.
If I could get that taken care of,
Will you come in? Yeah.
is there any other reason that you wouldn't do this today?
Hmm.
No, that is it. Bear with me 1 second. I have an idea.
Yeah.
You go grab the doctor real quick. It might take me a few minutes.
Hmm.
Give them something to do. In
Yeah.
the meantime, if you're really willing to do it, I think I can work this out and find a solution for that down payment or
Yeah.
for that monthly payment or for that, sedation that you may need or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so if you could fill out this form while I do that,
Yeah.
that's going to help when I bring the doctor in so that we can address this together.
Love it. Yeah. Love it.
Now you bring a doctor in and you sell the doctor. Now
Hmm.
you sell them on why it's worth their time to come in for 2 minutes because you've got them there.
Hmm.
They are ready to say yes if you can overcome this.
Yep. Love it. Once again, we have covered a lot of ground, um, as we always do. Is there anything you think we missed?
Oh, there's always so much to
I
miss,
know, but like
right?
anything like
Stuff like
really,
this, it's a big dark rabbit hole, but I think the fundamental principles are there. Again, just as a recap, if you can reframe and restate
hmm.
whatever you understood the objection to be, that will give you a roadmap on then how to handle that objection and if it's
Yeah.
worth handling. And then after reframing and restating, isolate the objection and really make sure that that is the one thing holding them up.
Hmm.
Get get the objection isolated. Other than
Hmm.
that, is there any reason you wouldn't?
Hmm.
They may talk your ear off for another 5 or 10 minutes. Other than that, is there
Yep.
anything else? Other than that, is there, just keep
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then you'll find that you really uncover it. You go back to that second, third layer of the onion until you get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
And now you've got some work to do to
Yeah.
address it because you can address anything as long as you're addressing the most important thing.
Correct. Correct. Excellent. Um, so I want to leave it there because we've got a lot of good content here and practice your listening skills. A lot to digest, but it's a lot of listening and just patiently and calmly responding. So, as always, Jake, thanks for coming on and helping us understand important topics. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. It's always fun to chat.
Yeah. Got your contact information. Going to go into the show notes of this episode. Anybody who wants to get a hold of you has that way to do so, in addition to all the other ways. Two quick points before we wrap up. First, practice care, one word. Please subscribe. We're easy to find. We're everywhere. There's a new episode every week, and that's the easiest way to get them is to subscribe so you'll get notified. And finally, if you're like Jake or us and you serve private practice owners or you're one yourself, you've got some experience on the business side of private practice, and don't overthink that. All experience is good experience. We want you to come on Practice Care and tell others about it because if I promise you, you've figured it out, others have not, and it'll be beneficial. In the show notes for every episode is a link, couple of clicks. Tell us what's on your mind, and we'll get you scheduled as soon as possible. Thanks very much, and until next time.